Douglass speech, we are going to go through the first 26 sections of the 56-part speech. We're going to start right now.
Good afternoon. Mr. President, friend, and fellow citizens. The task before me is one which requires much thought, study for its proper performance. I do not remember ever to have appeared as a speaker before any assembly more shrinkingly, nor with greater distrust of my ability than I do this day. The papers and placards say that I am to deliver a 4th of July oration. The fact is, ladies and gentlemen, the distance between this platform and the slave plantation from which I escaped is considerable. And the difficulties to be overcome in getting from the latter to the former are by no means slight. That I am here today is to me a matter of astonishment as well as gratitude.
This, for the purpose of this celebration, is the 4th of July. It is the birthday of your national independence and of your political freedom. This, to you, is what the Passover was to the emancipated people of God. It carries your minds back to the day and to the act of your great deliverance. This celebration also marks the beginning of another year of your national life and reminds you that the Republic of America is now 76 years old. I'm glad, fellow citizens, that your nation is so young. You are, even now, only in the beginning of your national career, still lingering in the period of childhood. I repeat, I'm glad this is so. There's hope in the thoughts, and hope is much needed under the dark clouds which lower above the horizon.
Fellow citizens, 76 years ago, the people of this country were British subjects. The style and title of your sovereign people, in which you now glory, was not then born. You are under the British crown. Your father esteemed the English government as the home government, England as the fatherland. Although a considerable distance from your home imposed in the exercise of its parental prerogatives upon its colonial children such restraint, burdens, and limitations as in its mature judgment it deemed wise, right, and proper.
I will be reading with a very deep accent from Africa. I'm preparing you. My name is Badie Digarago Gogwa Mimi Lobo Logo Zuzua.
Wow.
But your fathers, who had not adopted the idea of the infallibility of government and the absolute character of its act, presume to differ from the home government in respect to the wisdom and the justice of some of those burdens and restraints. They went so far as to pronounce the measures of government unjust, unreasonable, and oppressive, and altogether such as ought not to be quietly submitted to. I scarcely need say, fellow citizen, that my opinion of those measures fully accords with that of your fathers. Feeling themselves harshly and unjustly treated by the home government, your fathers, like men of honesty and men of spirit, earnestly sought redress. They petitioned and remonstrated. They did so in decorous, respectful, and loyal manner. This, however, did not answer the purpose. They saw themselves, this flag is our way. They saw themselves treated with sovereign differences, coldness, and scorn. Yet they're preserved. Yes.
Oppression makes a wise man mad. Your fathers became restive under this treatment. They felt themselves the victims of grievous wrongs, wily, incredible, incurable under their colonial capacity. With brave men, there is always remedy for oppression. Just here, the idea of total separation of colonies from the crown was born. It was a startling idea, much more so than we at this distance of time regarded. The timid and prudent of that day were of course shocked and alarmed by it. Their opposition to the then dangers that thought was earnest and powerful, but amid all their terror and affrighted verification against it, the alarming and revolutionary idea moved on, and the country with it.
On the 2nd of July, 1776, the Old Continental Congress, to the dismay of the lovers of ease and the worshippers of property, loathed that dreadful idea with all the authority of national anger. They did so in the form of a resolution. We seldom hit upon resolutions. Drawn up in our day, transparency is at all equal. It resolved that these united colonies are, and of right, ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown.
Yes, that's for sure.
Citizens, your fathers made good that resolution.
Yep.
They succeeded. And today you reap the fruits of their success.
Yep.
The freedom gained is yours. And you, therefore, may properly celebrate this anniversary. The 4th of July is the first great fact in your nation's history. The very ring bolt in the chain of your yet undeveloped destiny.
Yes.
Pride and patriotism, not less than gratitude, prompt you to celebrate Declaration of Independence is the ring bolt to the chain of your nation's destiny. So indeed, I regard it. The principles contained in that instrument are saving principles. Stand by those principles. Be true to them on all occasions, in all places, against all foes, and at whatever cost.
Fellow citizens, I am not wanting in respect for the fathers of this republic. The signers of the Declaration of Independence were brave men. I cannot contemplate their great deeds and the principles they contended for. I will unite with you to honor their memory.
They loved their country better than their own private interests, and I will concede that it is a rare virtue that ought to command respect. He who will intelligently lay down his life for his country is a man whom it is not in human nature to despise. Your fathers staked their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor on the cause of their country. In their admiration of liberty, they lost sight of all other interests.
They were peacemen, but they preferred revolution to the peaceful submission to bondage. They were quiet men, but they did not shrink from agitating against oppression. They showed forbearance, but they knew its limits. They believed in order, but not in the order of tyranny. With them, nothing was settled that was not right. With them, justice, liberty, and humanity were final. Not slavery and oppression. You may well cherish the memory of such men. They were great in their day and generation. Their solid manhood stands out the more as we contrast it with these degenerate times.
How circumspect. Active course of politics. How unlike the politics of the hour. The statesmanship looked beyond the passive moment, pressed away and strengthened the future. Mark them, fully appreciating the hardship to be encountered, firmly believing in the right of their cause, wisely measuring the terrible odds against them. The fathers of this republic, laid the cornerstone of the national superstructure, has risen and still rises in grandeur around you.
Of this fundamental work, this day is the anniversary. Our eyes are met with demonstrations of joyous enthusiasm. The causes which led to the separation of the colonies from the British Crown have never lacked for a time. They all have been taught in your common schools, narrated at your firesides, unfolded from your pulpits, and thundered from your legislative halls, and are as familiar to you as household words. They form the staple of your national poetry and eloquence. I leave, therefore, the great deeds of your fathers to others.
Reverend Minyard Culpepper, my business, if I have any here today, is with the present. The accepted time with God and His cause is the ever-living now. We have to do with the past only as we can make it useful to the present and to the future. Now is the time, the important time. Your fathers have lived, your fathers have died, and have done their work and have done much of it well. You live and must die. You must do your work. You have no right to enjoy a child's share in the labor of your fathers unless your children are to be blessed by your labors. You have no right to wear out and waste the hard fame of your fathers to cover your indolence. It is time. Now is the time.
Fellow citizen, pardon me, allow me to ask, why am I called to speak here today? What have I, or those I represent, to do with your national independence? Are the great principles of political freedom and of natural justice embodied in that Declaration of Independence extended to us? And am I, therefore, called upon to bring humble offering to the national altar and to confess the benefits and express devout gratitude for the blessings resulting from your independence to us?
Would to God, both for your sakes and ours, that an affirmative answer could be truthfully returned to these questions. Then would my task be light and my burden easy and delightful. But such is not the state of the case. I say it with a sad sense of disparity between us. I am not included within the pale of this glorious anniversary. Your high independence only reveals the measurable distance between us. Thank you.
That's for sure. You tell them.
The blessings in which you this day rejoice are not enjoyed by in common. The rich inheritance of justice, liberty, prosperity, and independence bequeathed by your fathers is shared by you, not. The sunlight that brought life and healing to you has brought stripes and death to you. This 4th of July is yours, not mine. You may rejoice, I must warn. To drag a man in fetters into the grand, illuminated temple of liberty, and to call upon him to join you in joyous anthems were inhuman mockery and sacrilegious irony. Do you mean, citizens, to mock me by asking me to speak to you?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Fellow citizens, above your national tumultuous joy, I hear the mournful wail of millions whose chains, heavy and grievous yesterday, are today rendered more intolerable by the jubilee shouts that reach them. To forget them, to pass lightly over their wrongs, and to chime in with the popular theme would be treason most scandalous and shocking, and would make me a reproach before God and the world.
Yeah. Yes. Amen.
My subjects, the fellow citizens, is American slavery. I shall see this day from the slave point of view. Standing here, identify with the American bondsman, making his wrongs mine. I do not hesitate to declare with all my soul that the character and the conduct of this nation never looked better to me on this 4th of July. Whether we turn to the declaration of the past or to the profession of the present, the conduct of the nation seems equally hideous and revolting. America is false to the past, false to the present, and solemnly binds herself to the falls of the future.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Standing with God and the crushed and bleeding slave on this occasion, I will, in the name of humanity, which is outraged, in the name of liberty, which is furthered, in the name of the Constitution and the Bible, which is outraged and trampled upon, dare to call in question and to denounce with all the emphasis I can command everything that serves to perpetuate slavery, the great sin and the shame of America.
I will not equivocate. I will not excuse. I will use the severance language I can command, and yet not one word shall escape me than any man whose judgment is not blinded by prejudice, or who is not at heart a slaveholder, shall not confess to be right and just.
That's for sure. Woo. Speak, Douglas. Oh.
I fancy that here some of my audience. It is just in this circumstance when your brother or witness is called to make a confession on the public. Will you agree more, denounce less, or separate more and less? Your cause would be much more likely. I submit, where all is plain and nothing is true. What point in the anti-slavery would he have to argue? What branch of the subject do people in this country be playing?
Must I undertake to prove that the slave is a man? The slaveholders themselves acknowledge it in the enactment of the laws of their government. They acknowledge it when they punish disobedience on the part of the slave. There are 72 crimes in the state of Virginia, which, if committed by a black man, subject him to the punishment of death, while only 2 of the same crimes will subject a white man to the like punishment. What is this but the acknowledgement that the slave is a moral, intellectual, and responsible being?
Southern statute books are covered with enactment forbidding.
Are you thirsty, honey?
Actually,
tell everyone to get me some water. There's no water out here that I can see right now. We need some cash.
When you
for that.
point
Are you okay right now?
such laws
Are you
in
sure?
reference
All right.
beasts of the field, that I must consent to argue the manhood of the slave. When the dogs in your streets,
Mom, you got water in there?
and when the fowls of the air,
I've got an orange.
when the
Do
cattle
you have
on your
water
hills,
in that bucket,
and when the
in
fish
that
of
bag?
the sea and the reptiles crawl, shall be unable to distinguish the slave from a brute. Then will I argue with you that the slave is a man.
It is not astonishing that while we were belonging, planting, and reaping, using all kinds of mechanical tools, erecting houses, constructing bridges, building ships, working in metals of brass, iron, copper, silver, and gold, that while we were reading, writing, typing, acting as clerks, merchants and secretaries, having among us lawyers, doctors, ministers, poets, authors, editors, and teachers, that while we are engaged in all manner of enterprises common to other men, digging gold in California, capturing the whale in the Pacific, feeding sheep and cattle on the hillside, living, moving, acting, thinking, planning, living in families, as husbands, wives, and children, and above all, confessing and worshiping the Christian's God, and looking hopefully for life and immortality beyond the grave, we are called upon to prove that we are men.
Would you have me argue that man is entitled to liberty, that he is the rightful owner of his own body? You have already heard it. Must I argue the wrongful of slavery, Is it settled by the rule of logic and argumentation as a matter of set weight, involving a doubtful application of a principle of justice, hard to understand? How should I look today, the presence of Americans, show that men have a natural right to freedom? So, make myself ridiculous and to offer an insult to your understanding. There is not a man beneath the canopy of heaven that does not know that slavery wrong for him.
That's for sure.
What am I to argue? That it is wrong to make men brutes, to rob them of their liberty, work them without wages, to keep them ignorant of their relations, fellow men, to beat them with sticks, to flay their flesh with a lash, to load their limbs with irons, to hunt them with dogs, to sell them at auction, to sunder their families, to knock out their teeth, to burn their flesh, to starve them into obedience and submission to their master. Must I argue that a system that thus marked with blood
All I have to do is
and
flip